Hello, welcome everyone. I hope everyone today is doing a wonderful day, or having a wonderful day. Oh, I made a mistake over here. Hold on one moment. Alright, so, this is what I think Europe would look like if the Central Powers won World War I. So, as we can see here, things are really different here. Wait one moment. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so, basically, what's going on now is when the German Empire invaded the Russian Empire, a giant revolution happened in St. Petersburg, which happened to be the Russian Empire's capital. So, during this time, the communists won the Civil War, but while they were fighting the Civil War, the Germans kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and created several buffer states between the newly formed Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and the German Empire. We'll go over that in a minute. Next, we've got Austria-Hungary. And next, a lot of the Italian peninsula and all of Italy's colonies and a little bit of northern Egypt. With Sardinia, Malta, Sicily, and Corsica gaining independence, and the rest of Italy surrendering to the Vatican City, who had started a civil war a few weeks before the Italians were about to surrender to Austria-Hungary. By the way, keep in mind, none of this is historically accurate, except for the Civil War in Russia, in the Russian Empire. That was the only thing, and Finland gaining independence during that time. Those are the only real accurate things here. And then, so, one moment. Alright, so, next, we've got Bulgaria. The Kingdom of Bulgaria managed to take some of southern Romania, a little bit of what is now Macedonia, and they kept their territory that would have been modern-day Greek territory. And then, of course, over here, the Germans defeated the British and turned them into multiple different states, as in Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. And, of course, puppeted the Netherlands and France. Not only that, but with the British collapse is how Austria-Hungary gained northern Italy and how the Ottomans took over eastern Egypt. Wait a minute, I think I made a mistake. Why does that belong to them? Okay. I don't know what that was about, but okay. That wasn't supposed to belong to anybody but Saudi Arabia. Anyway, so then the Ottoman Empire only gained really eastern Egypt and the Caucasus, all of them. So now let's talk about the neon-colored nations up north. Denmark stays the same. Norway, Sweden, and Finland in this timeline have been kingdoms since their existence. And over here we see all the buffer states. The buffer states are the following: the monarchical Polish territory, which is just Kingdom of Poland in different words, Lithuania, Latvia, and then Estonia is in a civil war with a fascism. Well, this is where fascism rises in Europe after World War I in Estonia, which is kind of weird, but, you know, I love alternate history stuff, so this is fun. And then we've got Muslim or Islamist Russia. And, by the way, everything in this game is not, nothing in this game is meant to push political agenda, religious ideals, or anything other than entertainment purposes only. all of these videos. That's all these are. Next, we've got Belarus split up into 3 different states: nationalism, kingdom, or monarchical territory, and a republic. And by the way, the rest of the Russian buffer states we'll go over in a minute. We've got Ukrainian states, which is Ukraine, Communist Ukraine, Nationalist Ukraine, Republic of Ukraine, Kingdom of Ukraine, Islamist Ukraine, Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, which are modern-day territories recognized by only Russia, because, they're invading Ukraine, duh. And then the Republic of Crimea. Now for the final thing in this video, the Russian buffer states. So we've got, obviously, Islamist Russia that we talked about earlier. We've got the Russian Empire, or not really it is the Russian Empire, but it's not really an empire anymore. Unless you want to count Empire of Ethnicities, I guess. Then we've got New Russian Federation and Russian Federation. And then we've got the Kingdom of Russia, and that's about it. So the German Empire's got a decent amount of land in northern France, and took all of Belgium and Luxembourg, and has a bunch of buffer states, so that way communism doesn't spread, even though it kind of already did in a Ukrainian state. But other than that, they don't want communism to spread because, they're kingdoms. They don't want their peasants rising up. And that's honestly a pretty normal thing back then. And Spain was already a kingdom, so. But yeah, like I said, none of this is for any sort of agenda or political views or anything else. This is for entertainment purposes only, and all of these videos are meant for that and that alone. I hope to post more YouTube videos, and I hope to see you guys next time. And if the recording ends midway through, it's probably because my storage is full, because I have a lot of flags for these things. But if it does, just know I said like and subscribe. And we're going to continue. So, basically, let's go with... Oh, and if I get cut off, then I'll make a part 2 to this. Probably. If I don't, that's wonderful. I'll probably only make this video like 10 minutes. So, now that the Central Powers have won World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was not signed, but the treaty that ended World War I this time was the Treaty of Munich. If I can find Munich. Right here. This is the province of Munich. Alright, so in Munich, in this alternate history timeline, in Munich, instead of Versailles, was where the treaty was signed. UK is collapsed. USA never joined the war. France is a puppet. Netherlands is a puppet. Vatican City gains a lot of the Italian peninsula and Italian colonies. Italian states gain independence, same with French Corsica. Vatican City takes over the rest of Italy. And, and Austria-Hungary's used to be Italian Libya has gained northern Egypt. That's about it for Austria-Hungary. Bulgaria gained a bit of southern Romania and North Macedonia. Macedonian territory. And then finally the Ottoman Empire gained all the Caucasus and eastern Egypt, and that's about it. And all 4 members of the Central Powers agreed to make a bunch of buffer states between the Central Powers and the USSR that has been newly formed after World War I. That's the gist of it. So now we're gonna continue. So let's pretend that Vladimir Lenin still is leading the USSR. Capital's not Moscow because obviously, yeah, but capital's literally anywhere. I'm not gonna try to put a prediction on that, but the USSR is happy to be alive, to say the least, and wants to attack the religious minorities, quote-unquote minorities. I wouldn't call them that, but they would. So, the USSR begins a land and air invasion of the USSR. The USSR starts a land and air invasion of Islamist Russia. This begins another Russian Civil War, or the Russian Civil War of the Russian Empire, or all Russian territories, because it's a Russian territory versus a Soviet/Russian territory. So let the battle begin. The Soviets take these two places. I'm not going to try to pronounce half of these. and the gates of St. Petersburg are closed, and USSR is at the gates. And because the USSR Soviets are at the gates of the Islamist capital, St. Petersburg, the Islamist Russia surrenders, and the USSR annexes the whole thing. The German Empire sees this and is like, hey, USSR, no more annexing buffer states. You annex any more, and it's war. But the USSR is thinking, but they can't really declare war on me when they're so far away because of their own buffer states. So I'm just going to keep annexing them. Next, the USSR finds remnants of the people they were once fighting, the Russian Empire, or Russian imperialists, so the USSR attacks them right away, capturing Smolensk within days, and then later capturing Bryansk. The Russian imperialists surrender, being annexed completely. Now that the USSR has a border with their communist ally, Communist Ukraine, the Communist Ukrainians begin attacking the democracy of Ukraine, capturing Kiev within days, and they surrender. Next, the monarchical territories and the Kingdom of Ukraine are all allies, so they decide to get rid of the nationalism around the world and the republicanism, or the republics. So the Kingdom of Ukraine attacks the Republic of Ukraine, and they surrender really quickly. And then the monarchical territory of Belarus attacks both territories. And nationalism surrenders in Belarus, but yeah, these last two places in the Republic of Belarus hold out for quite some time. Next, the Kingdom of Ukraine begins the war with nationalist Ukraine, taking one province before they're at stalemate. Now, the Russian Federation and the new Russian Federation are at war, and the new Russian Federation seems to be winning, so Russian Federation surrenders. Then the USSR captures the vital powerhouse territories of the Kingdom of Russia. Kingdom of Russia surrenders. Now the Russian Federation begins its expansionist roots, cutting the USSR in two in multiple places and taking some of the vital places needed for resources for the USSR. This begins the first Soviet Civil War. With this, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire look at the USSR and is like, we're glad you're falling. This is what you get for annexing and killing all those people for no reason. So then they start airdropping supplies to the new Russian Federation. And almost all of the buffer states give resources to the new Russian Federation. Therefore, the Russian Federation pushes massively into Soviet territory. Already capturing some of the biggest cities in the USSR's already owned territory. With this, communist Ukraine starts to fear for its survival because of the people around it. especially with the new Russian Federation, could annex them at any moment. So the communist Ukrainians attack on the second side for the Republic of Belarus, while Belarus was still at a stalemate with them. The Kingdom of Belarus is understandably ticked off about this and asks help from its allies to declare war on communist Ukraine. But then Germany hears about all this really close to, about it being so close to their borders and Austria-Hungary's borders, saying, no more wars for as long as you can help it. Talking to mainly the kingdoms. The kingdoms agreed only because they feared the worst from their captors, or the puppet masters, or basically all of the buffer states are puppets of Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, or not Romania, Ottoman Empire, and German Empire. Anyways, the new Russian Federation makes massive encirclement movements and captures so many troops that the USSR surrenders unexpectedly. Finland, fearing the new Russian Federation might attack them because Finland's always feared the Russians, allows Sweden to annex them, just as the days of old. But now, the Russian Empire wants a little bit of land because the Swedes are a little too close to St. Petersburg, a very sacred city in Russian culture. Meanwhile, that's going on. The Estonian Civil War is lost, and the fascists begin their rise. Meanwhile, diplomatic thoughts of a new Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth are brought up, but never achieved. This worries the German Empire because the German Empire knows that if the strongest monarchy out of the buffer states and Lithuania merge, then it could take out all the other buffer states and possibly cause a third or a second world war against the Central Powers. America, that's not even on the map, steps in and says, hey, German Empire, dude, you need to let some of these guys do what they want, man. And German Empire sends a letter to Mexico, because in real World War I in this game, they never did. But in this one, now, German Empire is sending the letter to Mexico saying it would be crazy if you attacked USA. But then the Americans intercepted it. And that was the final straw. This part is actually historically accurate about the letter to Mexico and the Americans intercepting it and declaring war and whatnot. So they declare war on the German Empire, but because of the German Empire and its allies, gosh, I can't talk. The Central Powers all declare war on USA, other than German Empire, because they were already at war. And because of this, the United States is like, well, crud. A new Russian Empire, can we pass troops through you to get a second front going? And the new Russian Federation was like, did I say empire? New Russian Federation was like, sure, why not? I mean, we're both democracies, so why not? So, the communists, oh yeah, never mind, wrong thing. So, the kingdoms finally squash nationalism, which helps the communists, because now the communists declare war on every single monarchy out of the buffer states. This leads to massive expansion of the communist Ukrainian state. And the German Empire, fearing communism getting too close to its borders or its friends' borders, send troops to assist Poland. And because of this, this will cause very war-changing events. By the way, goodness, can't talk, hold on. Okay, so the German Empire sends troops to Poland to assist the threat of communism. But the communist Ukrainians are already at the border, are already at the gates of Minsk, which is severely dangerous to Belarus. If Belarus ends up surrendering, the rest will fall quickly, and communism will spread. Alright, so now Minsk falls and Belarus surrenders. That's one nation down. And with Odessa in arm's reach, the Kingdom of Ukraine falls as well. The only one that's left is the Kingdom of Poland, which happens to be falling quite quickly. The Kaiser Wilhelm II declares that a new dark age has begun in Europe, with all the atrocities of beheading women and children and war crime, well, what would be considered modern day war crimes to the Polish people. With this, the Geneva Conventions are signed by every nation in Europe and around the world. Because of this, war crimes have officially began being punishable, except that Warsaw is now surrounded, and very few pieces of the Polish people remain. Communism is now at its finest. Communism is now at its finest, according to the people who live there. Even at the borders of the German Empire is seriously considering declaring war. With this, Poland falls, and communism is very highly dangerous and frowned upon. Next, where fascism first rose in this alternate timeline, Estonia has begun its attack on Latvia. This will end up being a very short war. Because of this being such a short war, Estonia quickly annexes Lithuania. With fascism, a new form of fascism, and communism on the German Empire and Austria-Hungary's borders, things get worrying. And next thing you know, well, rebels begin popping up in now Austria-Hungary's Libya. And because of the rebels being able to hold off the Austro-Hungarian Navy, then Libya gains independence. It ends up being run by a rebellion group who hasn't really decided what to do with Libya yet, but wanted to be free from the Austro-Hungarian menace. Next up is San Marino. San Marino gains independence in the city of San Marino and then begins its expansion, calling themselves the Empire of San Marino. Because of this, they take what's left of the Italian peninsula from Austria-Hungary, calling themselves the Peace Bringers of Italy. Austria-Hungary is forced to leave all of Romanian territory, though, because of the Moldovans, who used to be a buffer state that has now gained more military power than the Austro-Hungarians, only because of losing the colonies. German Empire fears that their friend Austria-Hungary is about to lose the wars and sends volunteer groups to help Austria-Hungary. But unfortunately, the worst comes the worst, happens. Austria-Hungary becomes communist. And because of this, communist Ukraine helps them capture all of Romania and Albania. With this significant change, Bulgaria collapses out of fear of being captured by any out of being fearful of being annexed by the Austro-Hungarians. So now everyone is in a rush to take as much land as they can get their hands on. Because of this, things begin to change in the Balkans. Communist Austria-Hungary becomes the second communist powerhouse, other than communist Ukraine. The Russian Empire fears that because communism and fascism is both on its borders, with imperialists to the south, people's republics, and communism and fascism on the borders other than Sweden, they have no one to help them. So the Russian Federation has the USA come by, and they talk peace agreement. Well, not peace agreement, but alliance agreements. And because of this, the new Russian Federation declares war and and long story short, wins the war against Sweden and annexes all of Finland, Finnish territory, and a little bit of northern Sweden. With this, the Russian Federation gains stupid power, like really a lot of military power and economic abilities. So now the Russian Federation pushes Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics around a bit and annexes them completely. Communist Ukraine's understandably ticked off about all this because it's rightful Ukrainian territory. So they militarily occupy it from the Russian Federation, and the Russian Federation was like, you know what? Let's form a coalition. The new Russian Federation, the German Empire and all its allies, and the Ottoman Empire and all its allies declare war on communism.